I'm Paul Huizinga. This is the 2015 PRI show, and I'm here at Powermaster getting an education from JR on starters. Now, normally when we talk about starters, we talk about torque. You know, will this turn over an 18-to-1 compression engine? Will this do that? Will this do that? That's not the whole story behind starters. I mean, there's different applications that require totally different types of starters, right?
That is correct. For years, you know, torque, the more torque, the better. And yes, that's still the case in most of the time. But there's some applications out there where speed is also a necessity. Especially in magneto-equipped engines, those guys are going to need a lot of RPM to get those things to light off. At Powermaster, we have developed and designed what we would call our ultra high-speed motor. It's got a little bit different gear reduction, a little bit different motor, and on 12 volts, this guy's keeping up with some of the 16-volt starters originally, and even some of the 24 on 16. So this starter with the really dialed-in gear reduction is able to keep up and fire off these engines with ease.
So now you're saying magneto ignition. Give me a for example. What kind of car would you use this on? What are some real-world places where you've had success with this starter?
This starter is going to work really well in your drag racing applications, and a lot of your rail car and bracket cars, those guys are going to use alcohol, and by volume, those guys are injecting it in and need that mag to light that fuel load off. A lot of them have a hard cranking time and sometimes even have to throw 24 volts at a starter that is no longer needed with ours.
So it really kind of simplifies the whole setup for somebody who's running that kind of an engine that needs more cranking speed to get lit off with that magneto. You don't have to go with the higher voltage. You don't have to monkey around with any of that stuff.
That is correct. It's a nice, simple, easy way to get that engine started with ease. We've also seen great applications in some of the EFI vehicles as well. A lot of the LSs love speed to get those things fired off. And these starters are a breeze for those engines. They still have the torque, it's still there, so your larger engines that are injected, you're not going to have an issue firing those either.
Well, now let's talk about alternators. That's another, of course, big part of Powermaster's business. You've got something interesting that you want to show me here, right?
We sure do. We have an alternator that we've developed, and specifically this one is going to be for our Ford applications. The great thing about the Ford is the bracket style. We've got one, if you're running a stock style bracket, it's going to take you from 1963 all the way to 1993 with one alternator. The only thing going to be different about it is a pulley change. We're going to go from a V-belt to a serpentine. With this alternator, we can dial in the voltage. If you're a 12-volt guy, 12 volts. If you're a 14-volt guy, 14 or 16 out of one piece.
So now where do these new things come from? Is this things that customers are requesting from you or internal R&D, or what's the process behind that?
A lot of it's internal R&D, but we are car people ourselves. We listen to the customer's feedback. They ask for it, we can provide it. We do our best of our ability to make this happen for the guys.
Well, I gotta say, it's not really shocking, pun intended. You got some really interesting stuff here. Where can people go to learn more about Powermaster's line of electrical products?
They can go to powermasterperformance.com to see all of our products that we have available here at the 2015 PRI show.
Well, thank you very much for showing me the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts here. For Power Auto Media, I'm Paul Huizinga. Keep it right here. We got a whole bunch more coming at you from PRI 2015.